Happy Saturday, Risers. We hope you are all safe and well. Saagar and I are back with some of our favorite moments from our interviews this week. Journalist and Status Coup CEO Chariton discussed a year-long investigation on the Flint water crisis that exposed ex-Michigan Governor Rick Snyder's alleged payoffs to sick locals. Jordan also revealed that Snyder knew about Flint's toxic outbreak 16 months earlier than what he testified to Congress. Biden's Veepstakes were a big topic for us this week. In front of the show, The Intercept's Ryan Grimm shared his thoughts on a potential Biden-Warren ticket. But with the news of Larry Summers advising the campaign, I'm not so sure that one's going to be happening. Yeah. Former Sanders campaign national co-chair and another great friend of the show, Nina Turner, also weighed in on Biden's potential VP and discussed a Pew Research poll that we found pretty interesting that showed an older white candidate like Joe Biden bothered white voters more than it bothered black or brown voters. Nina also gave some great advice to the Biden campaign to rally youth and minority voters. Let's take a listen.
We need some excitement. These are heavy and hard times. They have been for a long time. The pandemic is just bringing it to the fore. But if you talk to people who have been suffering in this country for years, they've been enduring a different kind of pandemic. It's called life. Life that happens when you're black. Life that happens when you're brown. Life that happens when you're indigenous. Life that happens when you are poor. They've been enduring a type of a pandemic. And so to get people to vote, I have a news flash. It doesn't happen in the head first. It happens in the heart. And you must excite people. And Trump, as bad as he is, as rotten as he is, as wrong as he is, he does bring a certain type of excitement. And if the Democrats want to, in fact, defeat President Donald J. Trump, there are many things they need to do. But one of those things is to have some excitement, some authenticity.
Yeah, she's exactly right. We see this reflected in the numbers. 53% of Trump voters say that they're excited, enthusiastic about supporting Donald Trump. I think it's something like in the 29% for Joe Biden, the lowest number for a Democratic nominee in modern history. That just goes to show, voting is a pain, right? Like you have to wake up and be like, do I feel okay? It's raining outside. All this.
There's a pandemic. Should I risk my life?
Should I get a vote? Should I order the thing on the complicated form and get him to send it to me, my signature? There's so many different things. And to do that for somebody, you got to really want to.
Right.
And the question is for Joe, how many people are really going to want to vote for you? There's enough out there. And we've always said this. There's enough out there to defeat Donald Trump. It's certainly possible, and it could be just an up or down. People could be so mad that they'll vote against him. But you also have to give people a reason to vote for you. In the other instance, in the instance that it's not an up or down reflection, you need to offer some vision, you need to offer some excitement. That just doesn't exist.
Yeah, last time around with Hillary Clinton, the theory of the case was that Trump was so bad that would drive voters to the polls in and of itself. It didn't work. Didn't work out for Democrats. Now look, landscape, very, very different this time around. Let's be clear. Maybe this time it is enough, but I'm not sure I'd want to bet on that.
No, I certainly wouldn't. All right. The Senate also passed another coronavirus relief bill this last week as unemployment numbers continue to skyrocket. And after a delay in small business funding, they barely added any concessions to the latest bill. No independent House side proposals. The Young Turks Cenk Uygur, he made the argument that corporate Democrats manipulated progressives into blocking the stimulus bill. He explained that in our latest interview, how mainstream Democrats use kindness kryptonite to gaslight. Let's take a listen.
AOC's out there fighting the good fight. So she's the one saying, hey, wait a minute, you have your priorities completely reversed here. So people should come first. So our number one priority should be American citizens, which in Washington is a revolutionary thought. Like, oh, get out of here. We're going to give the money first to Americans? No, she's a lunatic. No, obviously we give it to multinational corporations first. And by the way, that's literally what they did. Over 90% of the money went to giant multinational corporations, then small businesses, then actual citizens. And AOC's making the argument, no, let's flip it. Let's do citizens first, small businesses second, giant corporations third. And that is great framing. That is great policy. The problem is for progressives, they often have the right policies, but they get gaslit by Democrats into not fighting too hard. Hey, don't actually overturn a vote. Because that would be real power. And you would really, really offend your cherished, beloved colleagues, the corporate Democrats.
He went on to talk about, and I think he's totally right about this, that, we don't want to be mean, we don't want to hurt people's feelings, we don't want to endanger their reelection prospects or whatever. And so mainstream Democrats are like, you can't do that because that's going to be
Right.
he uses Sharice Davids runs
like,
in Kansas.
Sharice Davids needs Wall Street cash.
She's going to lose. And it is so true, though. That is what is used. And it's very human. You work with these people, you know them, like you are in meetings with them, they become your buddies, and you don't want to undercut them. But meanwhile, on the other side, like while you are thinking that these corporate Democrats are your friends, that you're trying to help out and be a team player, like they're not thinking of you that way. They see progressives, especially economic progressives, as like adversaries to be managed, manipulated, and quashed whenever possible. Like that is the view coming from the mainstream. But progressives seem to think like these are our friend Joe Biden, right?
Yeah, I mean, look, nobody else thinks this way. You know what the Freedom Caucus did? They took out the House majority leader, Eric Cantor. They primaried him, took him out of office.
That was unbelievable.
It was an amazing moment in American politics. I mean, that's what those people are
Cantor
willing
wasn't
to
even
do.
in the district on election night.
Right.
He was so stunned that happened.
I think I remember his campaign spent more on steak than his opponent spent in the entire campaign. So tells you everything you need to know.
Finally, Congressman Ro Khanna laid out a proposal that he co-authored with Senator Elizabeth Warren for the next stimulus bill in his interview with us on Thursday. That proposal includes $2,000 a month for up to 12 months, full payments to dependents like college students and also adults with disabilities, and providing money through non-traditional platforms like Venmo and Zelle. I pressed Congressman Khanna on how progressives plan to successfully negotiate in the next stimulus bill. Here's what he had to say.
The reality is that the first CARES bill was needed. It was urgent. We needed to extend unemployment insurance. We needed to get some stimulus out there. My big concern there was the $500 billion that went to industry. I do think the next CARES bill, that's going to be a big bill. Progressives need to make it very clear up front and have a line of where we're not going to support it. And so I think you're going to see that from progressives. Elizabeth Warren and I have a workers' bill of rights for all the essential workers, making sure they have protections. There are going to be some bright lines, I think, for the progressives in this next stimulus.
Look, I like Congressman Khanna. I respect him. I think that, I think he's been a real thought leader. I think he's had courage in certain areas. But look, color me skeptical that progressives are going to play any hardball. In the next, it's always like, well, maybe not this one, but it's always the next one. The next one, we're going to get what we want. The next one, we're going to get what we want. I don't have a lot of confidence.
I remember you and I interviewed him like 6 or 8 months ago, and we asked him about Pelosi, and he's like, "Oh, the speaker's doing a good job." And I was like, "Well, that tells you everything you need to know. It's all about if you're willing to pay fealty to Nancy Pelosi, she doesn't care what you think. That's just all that it comes down to. About your workers' bill of rights. I think that's great. I also know it's not going to go anywhere. It's dead on arrival. You have no organized power, leverage, caucus in order to get what you want. So it turns out you were kind of just talking into the ether for the entire Sanders campaign. And I think that that's what so much of this has just turned out to be, with very, very, very select few voices that you can see on the left that actually understand how these things. If you want and believe in these revolutionary ideas, then you have to act like it, and you have to actually force people to grapple with it.
Right, and with this, with the aid packages in particular, you know why people are hesitant. First of all, they genuinely want aid to get to people as soon as possible, right? And of course, there are real limitations of government when you don't hold, you have the House, you don't have the Senate, you don't have the presidency, obviously. But they're also, it's not just that they're anxious to get the aid out, it's that they're afraid of getting blamed for standing in the way. And, Democrats actually did stand in the way of aid for small businesses for a while, delayed the, increase in the funding for the PPP program that we talked so much about. And then ultimately, look, good, I'm glad. Use that leverage, get something real for people, make it worth the delay. And at the end of the day, they didn't. They got next to nothing. I mean, so little that even mainstream pundits noticed that Democrats just completely caved.
Right, yeah. I mean, they bailed out the hospital industry, so twice. So thanks for that.
That does it for us. As always, please like, share, and subscribe. We're going to be back later today with our recurring segment, breaking down the week that was in media screw-ups with the one and only Katie Halber.
And tomorrow we're going to be back with another round of #RisingQs. See you guys then.